should I pay $185 a month for something that might not work, right? And they keep changing the business model. It's just not a good offering. It's not a good
Well,
offering.
you pay the money only if you make it to the $200,000, which is obviously the goal of every last developer is to make the money. So to be completely fair, we also are on the other side of a horrible event in which everybody is saying Godot right now. So will we still have the same experience here in a year? I'm more curious about what is going to happen in a year, because if you see the revenue numbers start going back up for Unity, then you know that they've re-won the hearts and minds of new projects being started.
Yeah, my prediction on this is that they won't, just based on current room temperature. Not because they're giving a bad or a good offering. I think it's based on current room temperature. I think they've lost a lot of support for people. And I don't think that Unity is standing out as something that does anything better than other regions currently. I think they need to stand out with something big, right? The Unity Asset Store used to be like a really big deal, but the moment they lost all that support, everybody providing assets for the Unity Asset Store was like, hey, we got to do something else. Let's go start providing assets for other engines. And
I always thought that was the easiest way to monetize your engine to a level that's like probably much bigger than a professional plan, is making the world's easiest asset pipeline to store that rewards creators as much as possible. Like, to me, that just seems like such an easy W by Unity.
Yeah, no, I super agree with that. I'm
very confusing that they're not.
While this is going on, I'm going to put on a poll and just see what people think.
Yeah, and please refrain from like voting on the poll if you're like, oh, I love Godot, but you've never actually made a game. Like, I'd like to know, like, if you're starting a game, are you actually using Unity, or are you actually using Godot? Like, that kind of stuff is very interesting.
Yeah.
Because Twitter's extremely hard to get correct sentiment from. Because you know Twitter. Twitter tends to thrive on the outrage, and it's often not necessarily reflecting what the reality is.
I'm gonna Unreal, GameMaker, Unity, Godot. I mean, we've got one more slot. What do you want to add to it? I mean, we could do something like.
So yeah, Unity, Unreal, Godot, GameMaker.
Yeah. We could add Ren'Py. Ren'Py is for visual novels. A lot of people use it.
And there's Source 2, Bevy. There's a lot of these like kind of bespoke.
I'll do Bevy instead of. I'll do Bevy.
Raylib is really popular. Bevy/Raylib would be interesting.
Yeah.
Because Raylib has been. I mean, I've seen more about Raylib in the last 6 months than I've seen about anything else. And it's actually like, I hear it's a very great library. Ginger Bill imported, or Raylib's a part of Odin, which is the VFX language for a lot of studios and stuff like that. It's a really great programming language, so I'm very curious where Raylib's going.
Yeah, no, I'm super interested actually, because like there's so many different engines that are out there. I think right now we're seeing a shift more towards stability, right? I think overall the biggest problem that Unity has created here, people feel like the engine is unstable, like they can't trust it. You know, that's it, man. Like it's not really about the cost. It's about, in 6 months' time, is all my work going to be for nothing? In a year's time, is all my work, are they going to change the deal again? You know, like that's generally the sentiment that I'm seeing from a lot of people, so I can understand that. And it's funny, because I took Unity off of develop.games, it's a website I put together for like game devs. I took it off of there because of the fact that I was like, they just changed the shit of their business model, everybody's really upset with it, this is unstable. I'm going to take this down because I can't rightly, like, I guess, recommend this to people until we know what it is, right? And it's funny because it went from an industry standard to just like, come on.
Yeah.
A single.
So, I guess what's the inverse? What would it take for them to regain a spot that is trustworthy? Is it just simply time doing the correct thing, making improvements all the time, or is there more that they have to do?
I think it's going to be time. I think they have to do time and consistency, right? Right now, I still don't think they're giving a good value compared to other engines. I think every other engine is being more generous, which makes me wonder, like, what were they doing that was costing so much compared to other engines? Inside.
I can explain a lot of these things, I think, pretty well. So when they went public in 2020, typically why a company goes public is one of two reasons. A, it's effectively a rug pull for people to get their money out and get the hell out, which is probably very atypical of a company going public, because that is just a huge risk to reputation, everything, you wouldn't want to do that. Or B, to be able to expand aggressively.
Yep.
And so they went from a staff that's not that large, not costing as much as it is, to a staff of approximately about 7,000 to 8,000 people, because their goal was to massively increase what they were doing. And then the unfortunate part is that everybody bet on them, right? Kathy Woods, the famous tech investor, bet on them. They had a market cap of 80 billion, I think, just 2 years ago, and that's putting so much external pressure on them to grow. So what they do, they brought in the golden boy, the CEO of EA Games, right? The previous guy, one of the execs, who's just like, microtransaction, wait, runtime fee, right? Like, it's just this thing of we have to fit into this new world, and now we've reached, and so we're gonna make the greatest game engine ever. We've hired all these people, greatest support, but now we have to actually do the thing. And so they're blowing money like wild to line up that, and now they couldn't meet the expectations. And so they started falling on Wall Street really hard long before they announced this. Because remember, they only announced the runtime fee a little over 11 months ago.
Yep.
It hasn't even been a year. And so for 2 years, they've been falling like a knife on Wall Street, which means that people realize, wait a second, this isn't as profitable. This is not a good, profitable, let's really super invest into, company. And so they actually they had to come up with new lines of revenue. And since ads, AppLovin has been destroying ads, Unity's been really struggling on capitalizing on the ads, they had to come up with a new revenue. And I'm just surprised, again, it's still not the asset pipeline. It just seems like such a dummy. But instead they
really
went with runtime fees, which hurts people. They could have gone with helps people versus hurts people. And they just chose the worst business model.
Yeah, I mean, it's super funny because I kind of agree with that. It's kind of the same sort of behavior you see from free-to-play games. Like, make it really easy to get in and then have microtransactions. Make it really easy to use the engine and make the asset store really good. Like, I can understand the idea behind it. The asset store was largely curated by users, though, so when all of that trust went away, a lot of that went away, too. It's funny, too, because there were people in our community that were actually making a lot of money off of the Unity asset store. They were making assets for it, doing that, and they panicked. Because instantly you have the users right, and like just gone. So, and it looks like this poll is ending now. 52% say Godot, 24% say Unreal, and then GameMaker is right after that. Then Unity, then Bevy. So Bevy got last place. But yeah, like
but Bevy
this
is in
exactly.
Rust, so you're already like reducing the amount of people that can use it by like tenfold. And is it even remotely competitive with Unity?
I kind of felt like this was going to be the case. Godot, Unreal, and GameMaker, and like Unity being fourth place makes sense there. Godot being first place doesn't make complete sense, because if you look on Twitter, you go look at the public sentiment, it is just, why would I use that? I'm using Godot. I don't have to pay anyone anything.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people who are doing hobby stuff, they don't generally think about like, oh, I'm doing this and I'm gonna have to pay that later. They're like, well, I can just use it free. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Right.
Especially if they have a lot of
Bevy
Bevy code. I don't know if you're looking at all the Bevy code, but people are saying there's no level editor yet. That's why Bevy's not popular. I don't know if Bevy could be popular like Godot, in the sense that it's a language that's very difficult, and you kind of really have to want that level of difficulty in your game to begin with, and that might not be. I'm curious to see where it goes, because I could be wrong. I'm fully willing to be wrong on this, but I just doubt that a lot of people are going to want to take that level of difficulty also while trying to make a game.
Oh, somebody asked, is there a Godot asset store? There's better. There's a Godot asset library. And it's all just in there, and all of them have different licenses on every one of them.
So
for all the stuff.
So quick question. Is Godot going to ever try to make money? In the sense, like, they could actually create their own asset store, where they could actually give users the ability to make money, which I think is a net positive for the community. Anytime you can build something where people can make livelihoods on, typically you actually get a nice influx of users, and they already have a huge user pool. So it seems like a right way for them to do something. Is this like a goal of Godot, or is it always open source?
I mean, we have to ask them.
Okay.
We have to ask them. I think it'd be probably the best way to do that. I will say I don't believe that their asset library has any monetization on it. Library monetized. I don't think there is.
Okay, so I always feel like that's a really good. It's a great way to support the community. You kind of get like a double supporting thing.
Actually, it says right here, can paid assets be uploaded to the asset library? Not to the official one, though in the future there might be other asset libraries which allow it. That said, you are allowed to monetize and sell Godot assets outside the asset library. So the asset library is just for free things, and they curate that and host it, and it has 82 pages of content. It's massive.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's for the free stuff. They're like, yeah, go make your own stores, sell stuff on it. So they're actually allowing others to fill that gap, if need be, which is pretty interesting.
I like that. I think that could be a very cool business model. I mean, because I just want to see Godot be a success. And I know open source is really, really great, and I really want to support open source, but it's largely a thankless job that's very difficult with a lot of people complaining. So I'd love to see them be able to also create an alternative, income market in which they can really make it into truly Unity 2.0.
Yeah, right now they're getting floated by a lot of people, like just donating and trying to raise awareness for it and everything like that. And it's working quite well, but you and I both know that could dry up anytime. You never know what's going to happen. Never know what's going to happen.
While the news is hot, things will be positive, but in 2-3 years' time, things are just always good.
Yeah,
I've seen it with every open source project I've ever worked on.
We've also got a bunch of stuff on HIO. There's things that people have actually posted on Patreon. There's all kinds of stuff, all over the place. So people monetizing it everywhere. It has created its own kind of economy around the people who use Godot.
Hold on, someone's saying is they announced it at the start of the year, and they should have more info by the end of the year or the start of next year. Okay, so they are considering potentially, if I can trust, obviously, Twitch chat, that there might be an official type of store, which could be cool. So that's
Really
great.
the asset level? Nice.
If I'm reading that correctly, but I'm fully on board to support that.
But Ox as well.
Yeah, that's really good. It's really good.
You know the shocking thing is, that's one of the lesser pieces of news that have happened in the last 24 hours.
Yeah, it is, actually. Did you see the stuff for Annapurna?
I did see the stuff for Annapurna. I never played what's called the cat game Wild.
Stray.
Or Stray, there you go.
Yeah.
I never played Outer Wilds, which everyone keeps telling me I have to play that game. And so I don't have like a huge direct interaction with that game studio, but I cannot believe the amount of positive games they've released. It seems like, how do you even do that? How do you
It's not
even
just
release
studios,
that
they're
many
publishing it,
games?
dude. That's cool.
Yeah.
And it's a big deal. So it's Annapurna Interactive, it's their publishing side. There's actually 24 staff members and the executives, so everybody. And
Yeah,
they
the
always
two
on.
directors, what was it, Deborah and Mike Fallon, something like that? Deborah Mars and Mike Fallon quit along with Gary, and I forgot his last name. He's like the executive of the studio.
Yeah, no, it's the reason why this happened actually is apparently they were trying to negotiate to go off on their own, and it fell through, and they just went, cool, done, bye, and all of them left. I guess it was 25 people in total, so 25 staff members in the executive.
Do you know who they were negotiating with?
With the main studio.
But do you know who it was leading the negotiation?
I don't.
Her name is Megan Ellison. Does that name sound familiar at all?
Where is that from?
Maybe try looking up maybe with something like L. Ellison. A lawnmower.
What?
Larry Ellison's daughter, billionaire starter of Oracle.
No way, dude.
Yeah, she was the one doing it. She's the one that pulled up. She actually hired the Epic Games executive Hector Sanchez during the negotiations. They said that for him to transition Gary out of the role as they separate off, but it's hard for me to believe that when you hire an executive to take place of somebody's role, which means that when you spin off the company, you're planning on redoing that wing, which to me says that it was doomed. It's been doomed for a little while. Like the writing must have been on the wall. That's why the entire
Yeah, it says new president Hector Sanchez and has reportedly told developers, quote, the company will honor existing contracts and replace staff.
I don't think they were planning on letting the spin-off happen. At least at some point, maybe they were at one point, but then they said, no way. So.
Yeah, a few Annapurna published ads who responded to the news on social media, quote, have said, quote, just for folks asking, we're 100% okay. There's Ivy Rhodes, Davey Red, Director of Tea Brewing, Sim Wanderstop. Yeah, no Wanderstop. So, I'm interested to know, how this looks 6 months from now, man. because it's kind of a flashpoint moment, because Annapurna is one of the publishers that I'm like, that's one of the ones I hold high. Right? There's like Hooded Horse, there's Devolver Digital, there's Annapurna. Like, this is kind of shocking to me to see that it just instantly just snapped, and it makes me wonder, like, where are all those people going? Are they starting their own thing now?
I would
What's gonna
assume
happen?
that the moment this news broke, and probably even before the news broke, Gary, I forget his last name, Gary was probably getting hundreds of calls saying, hey, we'll invest in you. You have a huge group, like, how many 25 team members get to quit at a time with a track record so strong and somebody well known in the industry all the exact same? Like, this is a magic moment probably for them, and they probably already are negotiating. And when you're in that position, they're probably even negotiating with great terms right now.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I find that really surprising though, like to have that sort of breakdown. It makes me wonder what the demands were, because they just wanted to spin off and do their own thing, but like what was the demand?
I've heard people say creative control, but somehow I doubt that it's just creative control. There had to be a bad work environment. There had to be more to it for people to feel that strongly down to every last bit. Like, because if you was just creative control, you'd think some of the devs would be like, oh, I'll stick around, I like these games, I'll continue to support and work on them. But instead it's like universally all of them being like, no, we're all going. I don't want to be a part of this. It had to be more than just creative control.
Yeah, no, it has to be. And the other thing I'm wondering is they probably didn't want them to spin off on their own because there are rights tied up to this. And if they have publishing rights for all these different games and they spun off on their own and they took the rights away, there's a lot of money in that, dude. Like a lot. So I can see the business saying, nope, that's ours.
Yeah,
so.
And I mean, it's hard to blame them. It'd be really hard to give up a whole bunch of your IP, depending on how favorable the terms are. Because even if you have okay terms, it's still very difficult. Because that could make, that's a large part of how people know your company.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting that negotiation to begin with. I would have just always assumed that type of stuff is fairly doomed to begin with. It's just such a hard negotiation to do well.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem is this, man. Like, studios and publishers are made by the people inside, not by the name. So, what happens going forward is, do they capture that same way of treating developers? Do they capture that same way of being a good publisher, or do it leave with that team? And I don't know the answer. I don't think anyone does. Not yet.
Yeah, that's a 6 months question.
Yeah.
I'd assume at least some of the magic has to go. Just like with Blizzard, when people left, the magic just has to leave too. But can they recreate the magic? They could. I don't think magic is unique to people in the sense that it has to be a culture thing. It has to be the freedom for people to make good decisions. I think a lot of people are talented to make great things. I think most people have more talent than they realize. And if they just had the freedom and ability to do that, they could actually make really good stuff.
No, I agree. I think that's an important thing. And if you give people like a good platform for doing this stuff, like you give them a good environment for going and trying those things, then it can stick with that team. But I'm concerned that because that's more of a top-down thing. You know what I mean? Like the management structure. And if they all left, they likely didn't trust the new management structure. Like every employee leaving, that's a tough thing. It's a really tough thing. So
I effectively agree that my guess is that at one point there was a lot more freedom and a lot more wiggle room, and that they're throwing that under the term of creative control, and it's been just shrinking and attempting to ensure that you're always maximizing profits and all that, to where they're kind of losing more and more of the ability to do that.
Yeah. No,
That's the only thing that it's the only reason why the entire staff. I mean, I'm sure there's other reasons, but it just feels so hard. It's the entire staff. It's not just some.
Yeah, it's
mutual.
I don't think it would be like a negotiation tactic either, because they were like, nope, we're out. Not like, we're gonna if you don't. It's like, well, the cord has been cut. Now what? Like, no idea. No idea what's gonna happen.
Was there another time that this has happened? I feel like there was one other time that I can even point to an entire department all just saying no and leaving.
It's usually a strike before something like this. Like that's generally the way it goes. a full walkout is pretty important.
Yeah.
Yeah, like when you guys are talking about the Ubisoft strike, right? Yeah, it's a strike. The strike is we're gonna leave if you don't. This is just goodbye. So like
yeah, there's not even like a counter. There's no like, oh, you could win us back. Like, oh, goodbye. We don't even want any counter.
And I think really what it comes down to is they just said we're out, and that's it. Did THQ do a full walkout? Did they? Look this up.
Yeah, I thought there was one other company like in 2011 or something that did something similar to this.
Let me see. Yeah, I don't see this anymore. They filed for bankruptcy in 2012.
Okay, yeah, that's a little different than everybody quitting.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what happened then. What happened with THQ?
This I unfortunately do not know.
Yeah, I don't know. Chad doesn't know either. Maybe it didn't happen. Thinks Prime's framing. He keeps wiggling around, dude. He's so far left from where he normally is. What do you want from me? Here, I'm gonna slide you over again. And then
I have not moved an inch. I'm perfectly right
where. Do you know how I know that's a lie? You know I know. Because I actually cut your frame to fit the box that you're in. And I had to recut it just now, because you were off the frame. Come on, dude. How far left?
Stop calling me a far left. You will take that back right now.
It's too late.
Okay, I don't know if we're done with this topic. I kind of feel like we are. Is there any other big ones in the gaming news? Because you mentioned something about Ubisoft, right? Did they just?
Yeah.
They're wanting to go.
Yeah, it was Ubisoft's investor. There was a major investor that wrote a letter that's just pissed about this stock. Have you seen Ubisoft stock over the last year?
When I looked, so I did look up Ubisoft's stock, and it just goes to 10 cents.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's like an internal stock or that I go, this time when I searched up, I actually can get Ubisoft. The last couple of times I searched up, it didn't go good. Yeah, but for the last, since 2021, it's just been slowly going down.
It's just been going down. The last time. And like, if you look at it, it basically hit its peak in 2018. And then slowed. And then came back in 2021. It's just been flat. And it's down to, what, $2.55 now in the last year. It was up at peak of $6.55, so like, it's just going down and down and down. It basically just rolled downhill in the last month. It went from 376 down to 3. And the investor just put it up and was like, as a significant minority shareholder in Ubisoft Entertainment, by aging investments and our partners, we are ready to express our deep dissatisfaction with the current performance and strategic direction of the company. Recent quarterly results, which included the postponement of key games like Rainbow Six Siege and The Division in the 2025 lineup, and a lower revenue outlook for Q2 of 2024, have heightened our concerns about the management. Now, about management's ability to deliver value to shareholders in the long term. I hate this shit. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I hate how much investment has crept into games.
Mm-hmm.
Remember it used to be about delivering a good game to players, and then like, hey, we get to make money because we made a cool game, and the players get to play a cool game, and then everybody wins. The idea of management's ability to deliver value to shareholders, God, that shit's stupid. I hate that so much. I wish all of that was out of the gaming space. And I understand that for these massive budget games, there's no real way to see it. I understand that completely. God damn, is that gross. Legitimately.
Yeah, because I have this like love-hate relationship just generally with public markets. The lovely part about public markets is that anybody who invested in like pretty much 5 years ago and beyond has been able to make money and acquire wealth in one of the greatest transfers of wealth to the common person ever created. But it also creates a very perverse incentive, allowing profits to be number one. and that creates really crappy conditions. It's why we have the inshiftification generally of the internet, is that you're racing towards profits, not towards quality.
Yeah.
That's
and
why.
profits doesn't mean accurate. Profits doesn't mean good. Profits just means lots. You know?
It just means money.
More.
Which is very frustrating, kind of, and especially in a really highly creative space, because it's one thing about, say, like Amazon, who creates companies, who creates products for developers to build on, such as AWS. In some sense, their public pursuit of investment makes more sense because it's a really expensive operation. And I get that with really large games, but at the exact same time, games are significantly more creative, which require people to take time to really think about what do they want to express. And it's just not the same kind of, I wouldn't put it in the same category as something like Amazon. And I think it just creates really bad incentives of, what goes in versus what goes out.
Yeah, that makes sense completely. It makes sense completely. And I think that's the biggest problem, right? You just have this weird incentive to just get as much sales as possible, which causes them to make strange decisions about how they design games and make strange decisions about how they release games. And then you get this weird spot where it's like, well, we need to maximize profitability. Well, how do we do that? Well, we push the games out faster so there's more of them. Well, what if the game sucks? Well, you make another game really fast. What if that game sucks? And you just start getting this weird chain of kind of like half-assed video games until like there's no one left buying them, and then you move on to the next one. You make it go on. It's like not really the right direction, I think.
And then not only that, they kind of do these things that feel really dishonest. You hire economists who can give you the exact curve in which humans tend to exhibit the most addictive behaviors to be able to siphon out the most amount of money. Because again, when it's all profits driven and you're reporting to shareholders, you need to go, stocks go up, right? So you're just like, we need to maximize how much, loot crates we can get in this quarter. How do we do it? Well, we need to kind of give them this amount of money, just give them a little bit of taste of it. And it's just like, it's very frustrating.
It's worse than that too, though, because when you have this kind of environment, you're basically incentivizing maximizing risk. Because you want to make bigger bets, just so you can make bigger amounts of money. And when you maximize that kind of risk, when you keep making bigger and bigger and more expensive projects with a lot more assets, a lot more money thrown into it, you have a larger chance to lose. And if you look at some of the losses that they had in the last couple of years, like you've got, Star Wars Outlaws, I don't think that's done very well. I haven't seen anything on it that's been good for that. A lot of people have not been happy with that. X Defiant. How many of you guys played X Defiant? Did anyone here play X Defiant? Kind of imploded, yeah? Yeah, a lot of people just think, ugh. What was that? Never heard of it. Yeah. Tried it for a day. Yeah, so when you're looking at this, they're making these big bets, they're trying to make these really big things, and they're not panning out. Usually what I would see is from a studio that has that, you make a bunch of smaller bets, have smaller games, test the water, and then make a big game when you've built up enough capital to do that. But that's not really how the investment strategy works. It's more, bigger, and then you're dead because you've made too many big bets that didn't pan out.
Yeah. I think that's where a lot of the live service games get a lot of bad rap from, is this entire problem that's going on here. There's been plenty of great live service games. I greatly enjoyed Diablo 2 with its live service aspect. I even like Diablo 3. Okay. I was one of the few people that enjoyed Diablo 3 and playing through and having fun. So I think a lot of the aspects of that, just in general negativity, comes from this just ever increasing demand. An entire area. I know people are booing me for saying I like Diablo 3. I'm sorry.
I like Diablo 3. I think Diablo 3 after Reaper of Souls came out was good. I think Diablo 3 when we launched it was ass. And I was on the QA team when we launched Diablo 3. It was ass. We knew it was ass.
Yeah, but it was a couch multiplayer that I got to sit down with 3 of my best friends and play in my house. And it all on launch. You do couch multiplayer on Xbox. And so I did couch multiplayer on just me and my 3 friends.
You could play it, but it wasn't good on launch.
Sure, it crashed. No, that's not a big deal.
It wasn't about crashing. It was about you got your entire butt handed to you, and you got the higher difficulties. It was just impossible to play.
Yeah, we didn't do the higher difficulties. We just enjoyed the game. I love the story and the experience. We beat it all in one night.
Did did you enjoy Error 37? Wait a minute, you like the story of Diablo 3?
I have this thing where my nostalgia makes me ignore all the bad points of everything.
I'm gonna tell you right now, Diablo 3, before Reaper Soul, had the worst story of any game.
Don't make fun of Tyrael, okay? Or just the old dad that flies from skies. Okay, it just doesn't matter, okay? It was the fact that I got to relive a part of my childhood in a new form, and I just liked it no matter how, whatever I thought.
They
Sorry,
killed Kane in a cutscene. He didn't even
I
get a
know.
cinematic. He didn't even get a cinematic.
Dude, he died right away. I was very sad about that.
I'm never gonna respect that. Prime, I'm gonna talk. Diablo's my favorite IP. Diablo 3 was a travesty until Reaper.
A few months ago, I used
Reaper
a
Soul
copyright
was
itself to create a.
This is how hardcore I am. I watched the entire first season of Rings of Power. Okay, when something has my love for it, I'll stick it out
And
until the
then
end
finish,
because I want it to be
They
good.
don't.
Oh, so you're just like, I'm gonna put on the rose-tinted
I will.
goggles, I'm gonna snap into my face and just. Diablo 3 is good, but it's bad. It's good. It's good.
So being for content,
I
how
know,
this
but
works
then
is
you
that
just
you
let me
can
do
buy
it.
a license to a
Maybe
song
I'll-
of one of your favorite artists, and you can
Well,
use it in
Diablo 4, I think the
Those
problem is it's got
licenses
an
are as cheap as $8 per
I love
license, but what's
Diablo.
really important to
I
note is
played
that
Diablo
this
4
license
launch
is
pretty hard.
valid forever.
The
So this means
itemization
that you'll
is really
never have to
weird.
worry about getting a
They've got
copyright
some
claim or
cool
copyright
ideas with
strike
how
down the road
items
or having
change
to
the way
delete
they're
your video or take it down
something that
because
feels
with
like
this
Diablo
license
2,
you are
which was
protected
nice.
forever.
The way that the
And
talent
this probably
trees and
the best
stuff work
part,
is
you
very
can
clever.
still
I like that.
monetize your
It's
video. So
quite
basically,
cool.
Boy, I
There's
did.
a lot
I
of-
like that a lot.
a lot of playability in them. But I think the one thing Diablo 4 has nailed right now is story. It is grimdark fantasy open world Diablo. And I think that the rest of it just needs to catch up to that. Because like at the same time you could go play Grim Dawn, you could play Last Epoch, you could play these other ones that kind of have really good feeling right now. But if Diablo 4 can really make the gameplay and itemization catch up to that story, it's going to be a powerhouse. And I think if you look back in Diablo's history, you'll find Diablo 3 getting slapped. You'll find Diablo 3 actually did really, really well when it hit Reaper Souls. You found Diablo 2 did really, really well, and then did even better when it released the expansion. So it's like, is Diablo 4 going to get saved by the expansion? Is it going to get really good during the expansion? I don't know. But that'd be the time for it.
Okay. I'm willing to revisit and put on those rose-colored tinted glasses once a print and enjoy it. I don't know. The problem is that I know Blizzard has been on a losing streak, but they were the coolest place when I was a young guy. So I always, it's hard for me to go back and visit those things. I just want them to win.
Yeah.
It's hard for me not to. I don't know what happens to me.
No, makes sense.
No.
Makes sense completely.
Warcraft 2 was just so special, especially when they did Battle.net. When they just released that, I had my own easel, go up the ladder and all that. It was a magical point in time. In fact, I largely attribute to one of the reasons why I got into development. Was because I could build my own maps.
Because you build your own maps, dude? I mean, like, that's Warcraft 3. That's
Well, Warcraft 2
2.
you could even do it. Yeah, they have the
Yeah.
ability. But it made me like think through building stuff. Like I could actually do that.
I think
Very
there's,
exciting.
I love games with editors. I think that's really like a winner for me.
Yeah.
If you could make it a game with a map editor and have it so that players can kind of define their own objectives, your game will live forever. Straight
Yeah.
up. Like that is the way to make a game live forever. And it's really, really cool, honestly. Meteor Maker's kinda like that, but you can't define your own objective. Right? The objective is always to get in, get out, and live. Like if you look at Warcraft, let's look at Warcraft 3's edit, right?
Yeah, Warcraft 3 was awesome. Holy cow.
Super easily accessible. Players can make a map and they can define their own objective. You can make a map that is a storyline. You can make a map that's a tower defense. You build Dota, right? That's where it came from.
That's how
Yeah.
it got built.
So like that's the kind of thing is you build a map where you allow people to define their own objective. Yeah,
I mean,
so that's important.
that type of gaming is so sticky that there is a game, Roblox, that literally is just a level editor.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's all Roblox is. It's just a level editor, and it's one of the most popular games of all time.
Yeah, no, that makes
Like,
sense.
it's low.
Roblox is actually really good for that. I think a lot of people don't run Roblox because there's, you know, it's like any other public forum. You gotta watch your kids, make sure that they're being safe, right? That's the biggest thing. But it's a great space if you are with your kids to make things together. It's like, yeah, it's like you guys are talking about Gmod. It's like what we had at Gmod when we were growing up. It's like do whatever the hell you want with it, you know?
Yeah.
And like Roblox is really, really good for that, for like younger people right now. And as long as there's parental supervision, because you don't want to let your kid just be, you know, it's a bad idea.
It's
Not
a bad
safe.
place. Never been a good place.
Yeah.
Alright, well, hey, I don't know if you know this, Thor, but a new OpenAI model just dropped.
I don't know anything about this. Tell me about this.
It's called, okay, first off, the naming scheme. I'm just gonna let you guess what the next one is. So start off with ChatGPT 2, then ChatGPT 3, GPT 3 Turbo, or no, GPT 4, GPT 4 Turbo. I think there's a 3.5 in there. Just hold on. And there is GPT 4o. What's the next one?
Are you saying Jippity instead of GPT?
It's so much easier to say.
I hate you so much.
I don't have time in the world to say GPT, so I just say Jippity. It's just nice. It flows right off the tongue. And you can also call it Yappity, because that's just all it's doing, it's just yapping, so.
So what are they calling this shit?
Okay, so yeah, so we went 2, 3, 3.5, 4, 4T, 4O. What's the next one?
Are they actually doing 5?
No, it's O1.
What?
Yeah.
They're just rolling all the way back.
Yeah, 4O is less than O1, if you don't know your math, of course. That's pretty natural.
Why are they doing this? Why are they doing this?
You know, they probably let GPT-4 name it.
Are they still having that problem where the answers are getting worse as it goes? They still having that problem?
Well, they made a huge, they have made a huge improvement in a lot of things. They can now successfully answer how many R's are in silhouette. If you did not know, in 4.0, just 2 days ago, it said there was 1 R in silhouette.
It also said there was 2 R's in strawberry.
Yes. So as their example, they had a decode a string. Something that, in fact, the example is actually really cool. They actually showed a cipher translation of a block of characters, 2 of those characters, then decode this one, and the cipher was actually pretty clever. And the answer to the cipher was there's 3 R's in strawberry. And so I mean, they did self-own themselves. It was pretty, like, kind of cutesy, like, hey, we recognize that the other one wasn't as good. But the new 1.0 model is doing better in coding competitions. We don't know the exact rules and how they did. They definitely cut some corners. One of the corners they cut in this Math Olympiad one is that they got 50 submissions per answer, and they did, I think, 49% or something like that. They did middle of the pack, but if you did 50 submissions in the real, actual competition, you would have been taken out by 25. You would not even be allowed to play anymore. You'd actually be out of the Olympiad of information, whatever.
So they
kind of cheated, but they did better than they did the last time they cheated.
They allowed it to submit 50 answers per question.
Yes.
And
they
only
were
got
able to do better when they did 10,000 submissions per question. They actually ranked one of the best gold medalists.
You're gonna have it like this is the same shit I was talking about before. It's like, yeah, it takes 20 seconds to give you an answer that's wrong. It's like
It's definitely much better, but it's still all the examples they gave and everything that's going on is still such narrowly defined things that for them to even grow at all would just be so much vast in like computational complexity that maybe it can solve quick sort better. Maybe it can solve a bulleted list item on creating a quick bash script better. But at the end of the day, it still isn't solving anything bigger than that. So if you rely on these tools heavily, you'll be really good at getting something to spit out small answers, but you still have to build the thing. Like nothing has actually changed on the potential wait time and maybe how many attempts you get to spit out the correct small answer.
I honestly think that the biggest use of AI isn't what we're using it for. I think everybody's caught this really weird idea that let's build generative images from images on the internet and let's get into try to do complex programming stuff. Honestly, I think we should just use it for automation. I think we'll use that specifically for image scanning, like detection of anomalies shitty programmer, I can just get an intern and have them be the shitty programmer. Like, what's the point of this? Put it in the medical field and start funding that, because that's where real change is actually going to happen. And if you can get early cancer detection, because it's detecting something that other systems can't. That's a big deal. It's a huge deal. Even things like if you take large data sets and you start finding associations with that, like you did filtering a code, but you did it with that. You know, like that's a massive deal because you can find solutions to serious problems that we have been throwing computing power at for ages and have been unable to solve. And instead we're, you know, building a beam image and making it a shitty program.
There's actually, I have one other use case that I find to be very great in Straight for Devs, is, I was recently, I kind of talked about this last time, building like a game server scaling type thing, and I was using Fly.io, and they have a lot of docs, and I was kind of browsing through the docs, and I could see how you could make requests and kind of spawn up new machines and all that. So I just went to ChatGPT and I was like, hey, what are the endpoints for...
We got it.
Is it?
We gotta wait for it. Yeah, gotta wait for it.
We can wait for it. I'm fine waiting for it. Let me just refresh and see if I can play at least 1 minute of that, because I think I had 3 minutes not too long ago. And that should hopefully push me somewhere at the same spot. All AO bases. Roll the ads. And people are talking about how much energy is wasted when you could do protein. You could do almost anything else. Are you back?
Waiting a minute. 45 seconds. Yeah, let's check it. 45 seconds.
I'm willing to wait for you.
No? Can't believe it.
I know.
Jippity.
How many seconds you got?
30.
Nice, I'm right above 32. Alright, awesome. When you're done, I should be done too.
Hey, that was 5 gifted subs. We just hit 70,000 subs on the channel. God damn.
That's cool.
That's so great.
Congratulations, buddy.
Thank you very much. Thank you, community. That is.
Are you gonna go thrift shopping to celebrate? Maybe
No, I'm
you
gonna go to
sleep
bed.
fanny pack?
I didn't sleep very well last night, man.
Have you just been on the craziest sleep schedule? Because if you're going to bed now, that's even earlier than
Dude.
you normally do, right?
I was gonna have my day off, and I was like, I'm just gonna relax, and I was gonna sleep. We've got no more ads, so I was like, I'm just gonna relax. Actually, let's talk about the AI stuff first.
Alright, so let me finish off where I was. So I can't remember where I was, so editor, sorry if you have to figure this one out. But, so I kind of generally knew I need to hit some endpoints to scale up machines. I generally knew that there were like curling requests that I could make to spawn that or take them down. But what I was struggling with was like, okay, what are all the ones? What parameters do I need? Because the documentation was kind of sparse. So I just went to OpenAI and said, hey, give me an example of creating a machine on Fly.io using curl. Boom, spit it all out. Said, hey, just make sure your token's here. This is here. And I was like, oh, okay, give me the links to that exactly. They gave me links to exactly. And I read through. Like, okay, here's the tabulated data. Oh yes. Okay, now I see it here. Yeah, I can write it here. Oh, it's really good. I find it's really great at doc summarization. You
Yes.
can read the manual and then create new examples based off the manual. Mind you, sometimes it lies. Sometimes it's like, oh, this method exists, and then you use it and it's like, that method does not exist at all. So there is that danger, but nonetheless, documentations, like example creation and summarization is like super amazing characteristic of LLMs. I really like that.
I think it's really good for read this to me like a right? And I think that's really what it is you take any subject matter and you say, I want you to summarize this in this sort of a style, which is a style that's easier for me to understand, whatever it's going to be. It's good.
Yeah.
And I think that's good for an average user, no matter who they are. I wish there was more money being put into specifically the medical side, because I know there's advancements being made in medical, but I wish there was more money being put in there. And to the degree that we're seeing so much in like, again, let's make it a shitty.
That's the world we live in. But Jiminy 4 or Jiminy 01, gosh, Jiminy 01 is better than it's ever been. But I think that I know I'm going to get a whole new wave of is it worth it now? Nothing.
Chat has been activated. They're calling it Jibbity Toilet. Nice.
Let's go. Nothing like that jibbity toilet aura. It's just emanating right now.
Yeah, to be honest with you, AI is pretty much bullshit right now, so don't trust AI.
Sorry, I know this is my weekly let's bring up AI and talk about it, but that was a big event, and it's pretty cool. I mean, I always appreciate it in a sense that it creates something novel. Like, I love the fact that it told me there's an R in silhouette, and it actually created me a picture. Here, I'll actually send you the picture. It's the greatest picture ever. It's just why it's fun because of how weird it is. And for me, that's just like, that's fun. And it can just do weird things, and I can kind of explore it in this weird way. But now it's just for kind of anything. Like, you can just ask it really weird questions and just see weird answers. There you go, just sent you an image. You can pull that up if you like it. It's just funny. When I asked it, where's the R in silhouette, that's what it gave me. It didn't even tell me, it made a picture.
What is that?
Well, it's two large R's and a finger pointing to one of them. Or a third R down below saying that's where the R is in silhouette. Like, that's just funny. You know, like, there's actually a really good joke there. So it's kind of, I love almost the inaccuracy weirdness of it.
It's just so dumb.
It's just so dumb, right? Like, that's what made it fun. And so I feel like as this actually leaves, I might find AI just less enjoyable, generally speaking. Because it kind of loses some of that just the absurdity of it.
I guess, I mean that's fine though, because it's meant to do something more than just be absurd humor, right? Like, we can make some absurd humor if we want to, but like, you want me to show it?
Yeah, you gotta show it. Here's what I think is the best take. I think TJ, do you know Teach TV?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a great guy. He made this really great take, which is when OpenAI actually creates a real model that can solve real world problems, you won't hear about it. The companies that you love will start getting competitors created by OpenAI.
Yeah.
That's when it's real. Because they're not gonna just sell you a tool. They'll just go, oh, I can just make it now. Done, made. Right? You're not gonna hear, your employer will hear about it. That's who's gonna be the people hearing about it. Until that day, they're gonna continue to sell it to you because it's not worth it to actually make something real yet.
That makes sense. I can understand that completely.
Did your chat enjoy that beautiful image?
I'm getting the image because I don't have the screen set up to do this. We gotta get like a share screen.
Yeah, that would be good.
There you go, and your link. Enjoy
No,
it.
it's just a thing of beauty. You'll forever love that. Hang it up on your wall.
That's where AI thinks the R is in silhouette. The
Yeah,
3 R's
pretty
in
accurate.
silhouette.
But O1 did correctly identify there was no R in silhouette, so it has improved.
So it's figured out one mundane ass task, which is strawberry doesn't have 2 R's in it, and silhouette has no R's in it.
They have caught up to they have caught up to the world's easiest programming problem. How many values are in this array?
Yes.
Of this value.
It's catching up, dude. Like, every time I hear about the show, they're like, wow, it's such an advancement. I was like, yeah, totally made a better triangle for a wheel this time. It's great. Yeah,
This triangle's unmatched. It's 2 triangles, now that's 6 edges.
yeah, it's ridiculous.
Significantly better wheel.
And like, I know that it's going in a direction that maybe, but as it currently stands, it is not suited for these tasks. And I feel like it's just much better for other things, you know?
Yeah.
Much better. Which I guess they're trying to be pioneers, they're trying to push it in a direction that will not matter in the future. But I can't find a value in this right now.
Yeah.
Not yet.
You also have the inverse problem, which is it's costing hundreds of billions, and it's going to cost even more in the future. But they're making $40 per person.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. It's going to collapse, you know.
You're going to have all humans using it, but then you're also saying it's going to take place. You know, it's going to help one human be 10x more valuable, which fundamentally means you're going to not the amount of humans using it will just fundamentally shrink. Thus, where's the money coming from, buddy?
Yep. I think it's really what it comes down to is you've got a bubble. It feels like an AI bubble where everyone's just pouring money into it, hoping it's going to go somewhere with no sort of end in sight, you know? Because this is going to be another one of those things where it relies on a breakthrough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The forever breakthrough. It'll get there, don't it? There you go. That's for me. That's one of the only ones I wanted. There's another story I wanted to go over, but unfortunately I haven't read through it and thought about it. But do you know the data structure tree, a retrieval tree? They call it a tree. It's unfortunately called a tree, or just a tree for short. TRIE.
What are you talking about specifically?
Cloudflare improved the performance of a tree, a TRI.
Oh, wait a
retrieval
minute.
tree.
Okay.
And it improved the entire performance by 1%. Now remember, they take up in a third of the internet,
Yeah.
so that improvement is just giant. You know, if you can improve the entire internet by 1%, that is
That's a
giant.
huge deal. Yeah, it's a huge
Yeah.
deal.
Cloudflare percentage improvement is actually a thing you should celebrate. Unfortunately, I haven't gone through it yet, but I know that it's on the way. It's called A Good Day to Try Hard.
Yeah, I'm looking
Very,
at
very funny.
Look at the article right now. There you go.
So this, I think that there's some pretty cool stuff that this
2024, we can't stop DDoS. You're right. You know why, right? Denial of service is an attacker's game. Defender is always going to use more points in terms of processing power than the attacker. You're always going to lose DDoS. That's how that works.
Yeah.
The only thing you can do is have more hardware than the attacker does. Like having more throughput is the way to do it. And these types of advancements are how you win that game. So when you're like, there's no defense against that. Okay, cool. There isn't.
yeah.
The only thing you can do is just have more, and this is how you get more. Yeah.
And not only that, a lot of attacks sometimes are just good old-fashioned single call that figures out how to take down your service. That even all this stuff, all of your best defense, a simple DOS, not even a distributed DOS, just a simple one, will just destroy everything anyways.
Yeah, exactly. I think a lot of people don't realize how much Internet of Things are leveraged for that as well. Added date devices that just end up being, publicly accessible on the internet. Those are used in that kind of shit. There's so many botnets for that stuff, man. It's just such a mess. And they're like, it's always funny to me because people are like, oh no, it's going to be, you should be able to defend against DDoS, like you're talking about there. But it's billions of devices. It's not just like one or two. It's not just 50,000. It's billions of devices. It's a massive amount. What's your suggestion to limit DDoS? There isn't one. Just have more points than the attacker. That's it. That's all you can do. You need to have load balancers. You need to have like a wide network profile. You need to be able to have other mitigation effects. Anything you can, but you have to think about this. Let's just use a really shitty model, not even a good one, right? On the defensive side, you have to take in the request. You have to see if it's valid. Let's say you have a publicly facing thing, such as a login. You have to take in the request, you have to see if it's valid. You have to output a response to the user. And if it's an actual valid request, you have to check to see if it's in cache or maybe in the database, which would be less optimal, to see if it's the correct credentials from the user. Now imagine you get suddenly billions of requests. What does the attacker do? Send request. They don't have to do all that extra stuff that has to be done on your end. So just thinking about it in very basic terms, the defender uses more mana than the attacker does to cast that spell, which means you can just do that 5 times on the attacker side, and the defender can only do it once. You get overwhelmed immediately, every time. And the only thing you do on the defense side is make it more efficient, using less mana to cast the spell, like they just did with Cloudflare. The fact that they reduce the cost by 1% is enormous. Over time, it's huge. So like, the more that they can do this type of stuff, the better. Yeah.
By the way, on the IoT thing, we have a nightlight for our kids. And for whatever reason, they had to do it. You could link it up to your phone to change the colors.
No.
And now it's being recalled because, of course, it's attacker.
Yeah, of course it's an
2
attack.
years later, it turns
Yeah,
out
that should
botnet. Botnet. It's just like, dude, did you really need
Dude, this is
a
the
light
worst
that
part.
Wi-Fi?
There's a botnet in your kid's nightlight. Like, god damn it, dude. That's why I hate this shit. Oh god, it's the
Speaking of
worst.
DDoS, have you seen Games UI database? Their last few weeks of struggle.
Have they been hit?
Yeah, they got hit. A huge one. A massive one. In fact, they had 2 weeks of what they said was a DDoS attack. Do you know what it was?
What?
OpenAI's scraper got stuck on their homepage and kept requesting 200 to 300 times a second their homepage over and over and over again.
Really?
The world's most advanced AI got stuck on a homepage. They got defeated by a ref.
I hate the way you say things. What do you mean a ref?
A ref.
I hate-
How else
oh.
would you say that?
I don't know.
H-R-E-E-F.
I've always said HREF. I always, god damn it. A ref. In my head it says that. You don't say it out loud. I'm gonna say, oh, you poisoned it.
Oh, I poisoned all the things.
God
This is so
damn it.
good.
So we really
Yeah,
got
yeah,
Seth
he
on the
was-
front page. It's just been shitting on it the whole time.
Yeah, for the literal mitigation from this was to block OpenAI's ID.
That's insane.
That's how they got around this. It was 2 weeks of them just getting hit so hard they actually started getting 502 bad days.
That's insane. That's an insane problem, man. What the hell, man?
Yeah, and like, think if game UI database made money. OpenAI would have just genuinely hurt their business model. Luckily, they're just a free and open source software to help make, people to make really nice and amazing games. And instead, they were down for weeks and people were really mad. And it also cost him, what was it? Let me look for the exact thing. It was, they were transferring 70 gigabytes of data from their server every 10 minutes, which was costing them about 850 pounds a day. Just to
That's a
let them
shitload of
train the
data.
homepage over and over and over and over again.
And I bet if they leave it alone, if they don't try to mitigate it, it got worse, too. I bet it anyway. Because it just keeps getting bigger. Yeah, no, that's dumb, dude. That's dumb. I'm amazed. It's
Nah.
not that amazed. It's AI.
Här vill jag.
What's so amazing is it happened to be the world's most advanced
Se
AI.
più il telefono.
That
Fatta paura, volta l'ho tappato brocci.
of a
It's
simple
like-
project that you can go and use for free.
What is that comic?
Dai.
It's like an old comic.
XKCD. It's
No,
always
it's not
XKCD.
XCCD. It's not XCCD. It's older than that. It's older than that. It's like super old. And it's this really like older comic. They used to have this things like animal preserves. And it was like a bunch of animals like on a Serengeti, but they were like in jars.
I'm
Let
okay.
me find this.
Homestar Runner?
It's wildlife preserves by Gary Larson. Let me see if we can find this. Found it. Yeah, Gary Larson's comics. So like, there's this one thing he has, and it's just this kid with a bunch of books. And he's like pushing on a door, and it's like school for the gifted, right? But it says pull door, and that's ChatGPT right now doing this. It's like super brilliant AI stuck on a homepage. Like, all right, fantastic, dude.
That one wouldn't be so. That one would be funny if it wasn't so painful. Okay, hey, getting stuck on a pull door is,
It's rough, dude.
especially when they make it so obvious when it's one of the push horizontal handles.
It's far
not
side
one of the
comics, isn't it?
vertical ones. Yeah, far side. Can you do that? Oh, I've done it.
Dude, I think it's
I've done it.
It's good shit.
Yeah, Thor's wrong. It's the design issue of the door. Really, that made.
Is that where we're at? That's
Yeah.
where we're at now? Alright.
You're wrong.
I'm glad the chat is coping for the door. It's good. It's ridiculous. Yeah, First Sight Comics are awesome. They're absolutely fantastic. Yeah, no, that's wild to hear though. Honestly,
Yeah.
I think that's rough that they got hit like that. That really, really sucks.
And it
Is
creates
there
a
gonna
very
be-
interesting incentive there, which is how do you stop OpenAI from scraping? This obviously open source project.
I think more than that, who pays the bill?
So obviously that person pays the bill. Whoever's running game database or game UI database pays the bill, not OpenAI ain't paying it. And they don't respect robot.txt. They publicly state they do not respect robot.txt.
Why?
Because LLMs are considered God.
Shit.
They're
No,
not a
that's
robot.
ridiculous, dude. Like, that's ridiculous. That's a website. Like, specifically have robots that do space there to stop automation to say you're not allowed to do this.
Yeah.
That's
That would be the
wild.
whole point.
Do you actually have the thing where they state that they don't respect robots that do this?
Yeah, hold on.
This is going to be another legal hurdle is what it's going to turn into, because that did real financial damage.
Let's see, hold on. They say here, after modifying the robot.txt, which OpenAI can just ignore if they wish, right? So this is what all the OpenAI ones. I swear I saw this yesterday or today, so we were going over this OpenAI. Robot.txt. They don't have no one has to respect robots.txt. Robot.txt is in fact not a binding.
Oh no, it's not. It's just it leads to extra shit. It's like you ignored robots.txt, you're a publicly known entity, which means people can find you, and you caused financial damage to the owner of the website. Like it starts to build a narrative, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I'd be interested to know if they can take any type of legal recourse, or if they're trying to, because that's a lot of money. $850 a day.
I would assume the only real legal recourse you have is it has to be through some sort of class action lawsuit. Because as an individual, 850 pounds a day, I mean, even if you went out for a week, is $8,000 worth trying to sue one of the world's largest companies? I mean, you're going to pay $100,000 in legal fees before you get through it. So it has to be one of these kind of group efforts, or pray the EU comes up with some sort of enforceable measures that thus puts enough onus for them to change.
Yeah. No, most definitely. I don't think that's going to happen, to be honest.
No, I don't think so either.
Yeah, I don't think so at all.
People are surprised that robot.txt isn't standardized, or isn't. There is no legal precedent. It's like the cookie banner. You don't actually need to show a cookie banner. That's a misinterpretation, and people just throw up that cookie banner. There's no actual enforcing law that says put up a cookie banner. People just put it up. That's not the point of law. Just like the robots.txt, there actually is no rule or law that says you have to respect said robot.txt.
I mean, even if there was a law that said that, who'd be enforcing it, right? Who's going to enforce that? The government? Which government? Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be
For
an
those
EU
that
law
don't know,
thing.
people are arguing to the EU law says you can't do the cookies. You must get consent for non-essential cookies in the EU.
Correct.
Essential is the key word.
That is correct. That's why it always has the option of saying, no, I don't want extra cookies, or yes, I want extra cookies.
Yeah.
It doesn't say, I want none. It's like, only have essential ones.
Yeah, so if people just don't even put it on there, they can just say all these are essential for you to have the experience on this one. Like, I mean, and then the entire argument would be so hard to actually derive any sort of real conflict there that is going to allow any sort of legal action to be taken.
Yeah, it's funny, like, Chet is sitting there being like, the government. Or you could just block the IPs. You know, like that whole conversation we had earlier today, which is when you see someone being a shit on the internet and you don't like what they're doing, block them.
Block.
And then you walk away.
Yeah. Liberally use the mute button if you don't want to be aggressive. Or go straight for the block button on Twitter if you want to. Like, it just doesn't even matter, because you just don't have to let other people dictate things for you.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. 100%. Don't be a passenger in your own life. Definitely be real. Well, I think it's about it.
Yeah.
Got anything else?
That's all I came with, were those fun stories, which unfortunately none of them were really that fun of stories.
No, I think they're pretty good. I think it's cool to talk about that shit. I didn't know that about OpenAI. In
Yeah.
such a weird direction, you know. It's always fun to talk about, like, current events and stuff in tech anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, it's just sad the states. That's what I meant by unfun. It makes me a little sad that things aren't. It feels like this instead of week wasn't like, look at these great. Like last week, we got talked about like Space Marine. You know, it's fun. I had a lot of fun. You know.
Space Marine's doing really well, by the way.
Is it still living up to its hype?
Yeah, I've been enjoying it. In fact, they've got, over the next 3 months, they're going to be releasing difficulty level 5. And I just finished difficulty level 4 on every one of the missions. So,
Nice.
that's where we're at. Yeah.
Alright, did you get all the classes upgraded?
No. Kronos is like half of them done. I have 2 of them done. So, getting there.
Dang, nice.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. That's really good at Chronos too.
He's been hammered.
He's being a true Space Marine, a true brother
He
of
is.
Chronos.
For the
Nice. Well, hey. This is where you're supposed to say, this is Matt.
This is hay.
This is Sash.
We gotta work on that.
The outro is just terrible.
The outro. It's because we're AI, man.
If only I had the
Oh.
cleverness on a hallucinating AI.
Could be. Here, I can just make you smaller.
You know, no one
How's
ever
it
actually
doing?
needed to do that. Hey, we haven't released any set images that you perhaps linked to me, right?
How you doing there, small Jim? What's it like out there?
Honestly, I just feel like I have such a huge space to work with.
You only code in like size 5 font now, right?
Oh, great video. Oh, nice. Oh, good video, bravo, Smiley. Oh, thank you, I love too. I love you, great video. Thank you, that video helps a lot. I'm at 30 and started on 1. Bro, look, so many comments. Nice, nice. See, let's see. Aha. Oh.
I've been hard at work on a game about repairing and refurbishing handheld consoles.
Nice. Nice. But we won't do this today. Today we'll do this. Ah, he said like. Oh, shit. I didn't restore the history. Oh shit. History. What the? This? So here we have, is the second one. Yeah, good. Good. We have real DP. No, that's not it. Easy wheels.
So this is my desk.
It is set up. Is this?
Good. 2023. Welcome to 2024. I realized my last video was also a setup video, but I changed a lot of things. Yo, so I'm like out of sleep right now, but this is my productivity workflow. The main goals here are to develop a system that keep these files are just plain to cost. And EC 5780 or something, you know. And yeah, so each one of those guys out having like 650 whatever. And when it's all filled out, there have been times with the like the on my let's from their computer set. It's up the views. Yes. See the cool looking when that's off. What it is like it's your body junction. And it's just six pieces of stuff. I have this in the right such a way in your ideas, and across devices in conjunction with syncing that allows you to synchronize.
Right.
And when you use it in conjunction with syncing that
I see. Okay. Push. Push. Oh, push. Yeah.
I can make with aisle filters, but it only looks at the top page a week or so. Every schedule said do and they have to flip up I don't figure out where that to be filed. Termux practice today to view here. So this is the year up to pull up. Right, and I also recommend checking out this video by Joshua Fatima.
So I just recently finished my sophomore year and I didn't fail. And I want to show you
Não
guys.
está aí, ela não pode.
So I just recently finished my sophomore year and I didn't fail.
One. Good enough, pass. Good enough. That's fantastic.
And I want to show you guys how I did using board mode. So I actually started using board mode at the beginning of this past semester, so about 4 months now. I'm not going to explain what board mode is entirely, but I'm going to explain how I use it to pass all my classes. If I were to make a timeline of the tools I use to organize my life, they'd probably be like, until the age of 16, I used pretty much Microsoft Paint. And when I was 17 and 18, I used Notion. And now I use OrgMode probably for the rest of my life. I've changed my setup a few times, but I've settled on this for the moment. So first, it's new with OrgMode plugin. Then on my phone, I use the Orgsy app. And to sync all my org files, I use SyncThing. So that syncs between my server, phone, and laptop. And then I also use Zero Tier to make sure all of those devices are on the same network. Now getting into my actual workflow, I have 2 refile files. So one called refile.org, another called phonerefile.org. So I strictly use phonerefile.org on my phone. So the reason why I do that is because Orgsy, the app I use on my phone, doesn't actually auto sync. So like if I were to make change on my desktop and then later on try to like add a new note without reopening the app, it won't resync. So then it'll cause conflict and it'll make my life horrible. To navigate that, I only ever add notes through phone refile and I never add it through like my desktop. So that way I never have conflicts. First tool I have with my organization is I always add things first to refile or phone refile. This is actually one of the largest problems I've ever had with the organization. Like whenever I want to add something, I have to think about like, okay, where do I want to add this? And I don't have enough brain cells to be constantly thinking about like, oh, should I put my shopping list in my todo.org or my life.org? So if I just put everything inside the refile and think about it later, it actually saves me a bunch of stress. If I'm in a meeting, for instance, rather than wasting my time looking for a place to put the notes and creating sections, stuff like that, I just put it all in the same headline in the refile file, and then later on I think about where should I put it. So at the end of every day, I just go through my refile files and I just put everything in the correct place. I find this really nice because at the end of the day, I can look through and see everything that I've done and then maybe follow up or make any changes that I need. OrgMode actually makes this very easy. I can use a built-in refile command just to move things between files. Okay, so for this past semester, I first started by creating a file called Spring 2022. So then within this file, I added a headline for every class I was taking or school-related thing. So within each headline, I would put a section for notes, a section for homework, and a section for the schedule. So within the schedule section, I added the individual meeting days for each class as well as the time that they met. So the nice thing about this is that I actually get a notification on my phone every time my class begins. So you might think, like, if I get a notification when my class starts, wouldn't that make me late for every class? And you're right, I'm actually late to all my classes. In addition to this, under every class, I have properties for things like maybe the Zoom link, the GitHub, or maybe like the course website, things such as that. So I also add a headline at the bottom of the file for the school schedule, for things like spring break or exams, things such as that. So then the features listed so far, right? This is just the same thing as Notion. But the big difference is that this is entirely text-based. So you yourself can make this as extensible as you like.
Okay. I think the first thing I should do is how mode.
Today, we're going to talk about a new plugin for NeoDem that enables you to create, find, and link your thoughts. Now, you may or may not be familiar with Org-Rome, so here is a brief rundown of what it is. It's a knowledge management and note-taking tool. This actually originated in Emacs, just like Org mode itself originated in Emacs, and it's built on top of Org mode. And the main feature that Org-Rome provides is geared towards note-taking, and it's inspired by Zettelkasten, if you're familiar with this, which is a method of linking and building upon individual notes, essentially letting you create a web of knowledge.
Okay, so I'll try to. So what I'm going to do now for what are going to be my next steps. So the thing is, let me get it from the beginning. So I have been taking notes, and since I don't even remember, like at first I was taking notes at a piece of paper, and then in a small piece of paper, square piece of paper, and then I would store them somewhere physically, and then I would lose them, and I had to rewrite them, or I would forgot what them were about. So then I started taking notes on my phones, but then it got a little bit confusing because I had to switch devices, and then I would lose some of the notes, and then also I would like to store some of my notes to my PC, and then it would be difficult to sync them, and I still haven't found. I'm still in that situation, in that position. I still haven't found a way to sync them all together and be performant with the way I'm taking notes. So yeah, I stumbled upon this video back 1 year ago. This video of James Holmes. Where is it? So the video is. I am on productivity workflow 2023. And when I watched it back 1 year ago, I got blown away by this idea. But at the same time, I thought that that's a little bit difficult for me right now because I have other things that have a higher priority. And then I said to myself like, when I become an expert in whatever, I may adopt this system. But then he posted another video like a month ago, this video, Productivity Workflow 2026, which featured again the same node system. And then it clicked inside my head again, and I was like, I have 1 month free until I get to the military, until I have to go to the military actually, because here in Greece it's mandatory. So I said to myself like, okay, you have 1 month free, and you have to be able to use this free time to set this thing up. Because right now I have finished university, I took my degree, but everything else is quite a mess. Like my files are in a mess, my notes are in a mess, my ideas are in a mess. Like I cannot, they are scattered inside my head, and sometimes I can get grip some of them, and I may implement them and create that idea into something. But other times I'm like, I get a new idea, or I'm thinking of taking a new node, and I just put it inside this mess, and it doesn't connect with anything. And then once in 1 or 2 or 3 months, I revisit all my notes, and I'm trying to categorize them better, like cluster them. Yeah, to group them. Anyway, yeah. So I thought to myself like, yeah, you have to start somewhere. Like you have to make the first step with this system. I have tried to use Vim in the past, like Vmotions in certain editors that I use, but I haven't been able to stick to it and actually getting to a level where I'm quite confident that I can do certain things. So I'll be more consistent with my usage of it. So I think like, if I'm going to install this system, I'm going to configure it and implement this, it will be a good opportunity for me to use NeoVim as well in order to edit my notes using this editor. Anyway, so Zettelkasten, like that was the exact idea that I was talking to a software developer, a friend of mine. Which I was talking to him. I was going like, the reason that there are 2 reasons because I want to configure this thing. The first one is in order because I will implement it through NeoVim. I'm not gonna implement, like I'm gonna use it through NeoVim actually. I'll have to use NeoVim more often, and then I'll have to make myself used to the way that editor works, and the other reason was like, right now I don't have a good system of taking notes. So I think like I was sure that I will stumble upon a system of taking notes, and that's that system right now. And I found it like right now, like in the second video I was. Like in the third actually, like I watched from the James Coach video. I went to Joshua Petitma video, and then I was going like, okay, how to set this thing up. And the first video talked about this, like in the first.
Today, we're going to may not be familiar with your thoughts. That enables you to create. Today, we're going to talk about a new plugin for NeoVim that enables a tool.
Yeah, in the first 20 seconds, like. So right now, what I'm going to do? Okay, that will be my plan. I will first learn about this system of taking notes. Okay. After this, once I have I have an idea of not a very specific idea, or I'm not going to try to learn it in depth, like a more surface level experience of what this is. Then, at the same time, trying to learn more about this idea of taking notes, and at the same time, I will try to configure the thing and also learn about the idea of this idea taking notes. Maybe I should try to learn how to store my files with a more optimized way. How to optimize file storage performance. I wasn't talking about this. The best way to store files in this. Best way to store files. How do you use cloud? Anyway, I have to learn about all this. The best way to organize your computer with the files. Anyway, I have to make some research about all those things. What time is it? Okay, it's time to do some strategy right now, and then I'll do it with my dog for a walk. But anyway, so that will be my plan right now. Learning about this idea, trying to configure it while getting in more depth with that idea, and also I may try to configure NeoVim with a specific for a specific language. Like I'm developing. I don't develop actually. I'm thinking of making a Python app where I can download the YouTube videos and use it, because all those online tools are in a bit mess right now, because some of them are okay one day and the other day are down. So yeah, I was thinking about making a Python app doing this. And I was thinking like, okay, I may configure, it would be a good idea to configure NeoVim with Python, for Python actually, for Python development, and develop further this idea. Actually, I have already copy-pasted a thing from GitHub, and it works because it uses a library, and it's like 8 lines of code. But I can develop it a little bit further, because wanna see something depressing? Wanna see something depressing? Look at this. Oh shit, I have to pause. I cannot log in because the app is on that phone. Anyway, I will show you something depressing. That's something depressing. You see this? You see this? That's a depressing thing. That's a very depressing thing that I have right here. I have developed a site. It took me this site. It's a blog. It took me like 1 year and a half to do it, but I was doing it while I was also doing my thesis for the university, my thesis assignment. But I did write a lot of code for this, but because I didn't commit, I didn't push my changes often, and I also took big breaks because I also have to do with my thesis. Look at this depressing shit. This is very depressing right now. Very depressing. Going to 2025. Very, very depressing. Like what developer that respects himself has a GitHub heatmap like this? Nobody. Everyone is working on something like on a regular basis. So I may try to do it. I may try to do this Python app because it's something easy. I have to do better. I have to do better this month. I don't know. Anyway, guys.